are at the launch of this book. Um, Steve Correa, the author, has put in all his 2 decades of experience in the topic of leadership into this book, and he has been also he's also had the opportunity to be interviewing a lot of leaders, Indian leaders, who've given him inputs on what Indian leadership is about, and what are the traits of Indian leaders, and all of that is in this book. And therefore this book is very special, and we are hoping, Sage hopes that a lot of people will read this book. So there are two, very important people here who can talk about this book. So I won't really talk further about it. So let me just do the introductions. So our guest of honor here today is Mr. Sandeep Das. He is a successful and highly regarded international CEO and strategic thought leader. He was the CEO of Hutchison Max Telecom, later Vodafone India, and Group CEO and Board Director of Maxis Group of Companies Malaysia, and also the MD and CEO of Reliance Jio. He was awarded the Best Malaysian CEO in 2012. He was listed among 100 most powerful people in telecom globally by the Global Telecoms magazine for 4 years. He was awarded Lifetime Achievement Award for his contribution to Indian Telecom in 2016. Currently, he holds independent directorship and advisory positions in leading companies and global consulting.
We've worked together twice. Once in erstwhile Hutchison, which later on became Vodafone. And we were there during the creation and launch of the brands Hutch and Orange in India. And subsequently, we worked together in Reliance Jio. Now, these were studies in real contrast. While Hutchison in many ways had influences. When I kind of started work, the multinational was, those typical British multinationals. There were the legacy of spit and polish, where you had the quintessential autocratic chief executive, and there was companies like BAT, ITC, Unilever, Burma Shell, Metalbox, Dunlops, Indian Oxygen. Those are the kind of companies that were supposed to be creme de la creme. And it was typical to have club memberships, play a bit of tennis, have gin and tonic in the afternoon, and very, very hierarchical structures. When I joined DCM as a management trainee, I had a chairman who was actually, because of his manufacturing background, he was very enamored by the Japanese style of management. So then we got introduced to Japan and its practices. And later on, I worked for Toyota Motor Corporation. And so words like Muda, Muri, Kanban, Judoka, they all started becoming part of our vocabulary. But more importantly, we learned how Japan had translated its culture and spirituality into management practices. So it was another matter that we sort of learned how to eat teppanyaki and sushi, and how to navigate with our chopsticks on bento boxes. But the fact was that the Japanese style was a non-star, all of us in the form of a military organization working together, which was a completely different organizational style. There were no star individuals, there were star teams. And then, of course, the Americans invaded all of us. And suddenly I used to find Forbes and Fortune magazines on the hands of the corporate people, people like Jack Welch, Alfred Janine. Words like bandobast, words like jogad have become bad words when they were actually words which meant innovation, street smartness, and getting things fixed. So I've always wondered why nobody wrote something about this philosophically. Even when we were at Orange and Hutch.
All of you have taken time to be here. To each of you, thank you very much. It feels very, very good. Thank you.
So, Steve, you've quoted quite copiously and generously from Indian scriptures and Indian philosophy. And as Swami Vivekananda said, do not seek, neither seek nor avoid. Take what comes. So now tell me, this was your calling. So why did you write this book?
I refer to 3 incidents in the book as to what caused the blowing into the ember and starting this fire within. I think it was back in 2011 when I was in an NHRD conference. that there was a global speaker that spoke about a leadership practice. And like most of us, like Sandeep spoke a little while back, somebody raised his hand and asked a question and said that, we are Indians, we have a leadership, we have great leadership wisdom over 7,000 years. We should be following an own indigenous way of how to manage ourselves. Everybody in the crowd, at least 8 or 10 people, they all raised their voice and said, yeah, that's absolutely right. And then to my embarrassment and to the embarrassment of everyone, he asked if anyone in the audience would come up on stage and say a few things about Indianness. Somebody finally got up, went to the stage and said a few things. I don't know what it was, Chanakya or something or the other. But at that moment, I experienced a moment of epiphany. I realized, speaking to others, that our basic foundation of Indianness is very weak, though we unconsciously follow it. And I wondered if, the things that Sandeep talked about, Jugaad and, resilience and the cosmic holism, our kind of hierarchical distances, power distances, our spirituality, do they all have relevance in contemporary management practice? Or was it just some stuff that's ancient and obscure? And that set me on a boat on the river of adventure. There have been other incidents that I write in the book. But you may have the best of intention to write. You may have lots of ideas. But I must say something very magical happened. One day, inspiration, if I can say, visited. And for a long time, I had not given her space. And, as she sat by my side, welcoming me to write about what I thought and my years of experience. So as I started to join the dot, actually more and more things got revealed. To her, I owe a lot of what has happened. There have been also earth angels. I mean, Manisha, for example, Neha, they have really pushed me to be bold, to be able to look at both the ethic and the emic literature and bring them together, an outside lens and an inside indigenous lens. They've encouraged me to validate the notion of Indianness and the concepts I positioned and asserted in my book. That while they might be very powerful, are they validated by stalwart leaders in the country, and do they actually have that Indianness? And therefore, to bring a practical side to that aspect. I mean, there are other people like Nina, who's perhaps on the call today, who might have edited my words, but not my voice. And to all of them, it's been a source of tremendous amount of support and well-wish and best wishes I've received. There is R.R. Nair on the call. He's actually sat me down and worked through the entire psychology Manovigyan chapter. There's Zayed Ganji, who also looked through work. And Anand Nayak is on the call, who read through my very untidy bits in the Bixes. A river that has got multiple histories of assimilation of syncretic absorption that has in many ways influenced, not shaped, the way we think, feel, and act. And because of the Kal, the time, and with the time, the social character, like what Eric Fromm talks about, or whether Yuvari talks about, the dominant ideas of the time. We have dominant ideas in India, like respect for elders, keep your shoes outside. And I've listed about 15 or 16 dominant ideas, which we just believe to be absolutely true. What's there to question about it? The Desha, that there are differences in terms of a south, north, east, because of the class, the culture, the ethnic background. It's a very different perspective in terms of the ethnic card of the Desha. And finally, the Patra. A Patra English conversion could be maybe a trait or a competency, but in India, it
Please hold up the book.
That's Steve's book, and so congratulations, Steve. The book is It's appearing to have been launched. Very
Steve, can you hear me?
Congratulations,
Hey,
Steve.
hearty congratulations,
Congrats,
Steve.
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 And I'm not calling these polarity contradictions as something that is bad or negative, Akhil. These are inevitable processes when you have two cultures that are intertwined, and there is, as Sandeep was saying, a movement to move forward. It's bound to be that pull-push kind of relationship, a 10-degree mandala, if you like.
Thank you, Steve. Your passion shows.
Who wants to ask me the next question? Akhil, will you help me with the? Yeah.
Hi, Steve. This is Kavita. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kavita.
Congratulations, Steve. Such an awesome moment.
Thank you.
So my question is, what is your most cherished memory while you were writing the book? Anything specific that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think when you write a book like a Hindi movie, you shoot all the shots in the first 3 months, and then you do the editing and the music and so on. I wrote my book um, in the first 4 months, and then Manish and I had a tremendous amount of engagements and so on. I think when I look at the cherishing moments is when I started to look at my own sentences and then started to look for research, ethic and emic, to validate, to expose the elephant in the room, to look at multiple perspectives, what in Jainism is called Sayadvada. And when I started to find that there was that linkage with what I was seeing, observing with my own eyes and my own observations and being validated by literature, I felt very euphoric, especially so when I heard the leaders talk about how they continuously drew on their Indianness in being able to be relevant, both in the Indian geography as well when they have been working outside. So it felt good to because I was very careful that I wasn't giving my own bias, my own prejudice, my own observation, but that I was reflecting the voices of what truly is, rather than just what truly belongs to me. Thank you.
All Indian way of leading is distinct. If you propagate this, will we be missing out on something? If it remains truly Indian, truly distinct Indian, will you be missing out on something?
Yeah, it's a great question. The fact is, GP, that I'm saying that you are today currently using, see, if you are, let's say, in NCPA Theatre in Mumbai, you're doing a Shakespeare play. The audience are Indian, the actors are Indian, the stage is Indian, and yet you're doing to be or not to be. So the fact is we are playing in a Western foreground with an Indian background. We are already doing both. And as a result, we are facing the Dharma Sankatas that are there. All I'm saying is own up, legitimize both the aspects of you. And I started by saying that the distinctiveness is the way in which we bring all of this together and to understand it, to bring the West notion inside us. And today, GP, the younger people in our country today,